The snow was falling heavily when Alex slammed on the brakes, his heart pounding at the sight of the huddled figures under the bridge. Little did he know that stopping for this homeless family would force him to confront the very secrets he'd buried deep within his own life as a single gay father in a world that still didn't always make space for men like him. Alex Thompson gripped the steering wheel tighter, his breath fogging the windshield of his SUV. It was Christmas Eve in Chicago, and the city had turned into a winter wonderland that felt more like a cruel joke than a celebration. At 35, he was used to the quiet holidays with his 7-year-old son, Ethan, who was fast asleep in the back seat wrapped in a blanket. The argument with his parents earlier that evening still echoed in his mind. "When are you going to think about what's best for Ethan?" his father had demanded over the phone. "This lifestyle isn't normal." Alex had hung up before the tears came. As a gay man raising a son alone after his ex-partner had walked out 3 years ago, every day felt like a battle between the love he had for his child and the judgment from the world around him. He had been driving home from a quick grocery run when he spotted them. A man, a woman, and 2 small children huddled together under the overpass, trying to shield themselves from the biting wind. The family looked exhausted, their clothes thin and inadequate for the freezing temperatures. Alex's first instinct was to keep driving. He had Ethan to think about, his own problems to deal with. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way the little girl clung to her mother's coat, or the way the father tried to shelter them with his body. Alex knew what it was like to feel alone in the cold, even if his version was emotional rather than literal. Pulling over carefully, he put on his hazard lights and stepped out into the snow. "Hey, are you guys okay?" he called out, keeping his distance at first. The man looked up, his face weathered but eyes sharp with caution. He was in his late 30s, with dark hair and a beard that had seen better days. The woman beside him held a 6-year-old boy close, while the older girl, about 10, watched Alex with wide eyes. "We're fine," the man said gruffly, but his voice cracked from the cold. "Just passing through." Alex glanced back at his car, where Ethan slept peacefully. "It's freezing out here. I have a place nearby. Warm food, hot showers. No strings attached. It's Christmas Eve, for God's sake." The woman exchanged a look with her husband. Desperation won out over pride. "We haven't eaten properly in days," she admitted softly. "The kids, they can't stay out here." That was all Alex needed. He helped them gather their few belongings, a worn backpack and some plastic bags, and loaded them into the back of the SUV. The children climbed in quietly, their eyes lighting up at the warmth. Ethan stirred but didn't wake as the family settled in. During the short drive to his suburban home, Alex learned their names, John and Maria, with kids Lily and Tommy. They had lost their apartment 2 months ago after John was fired from his construction job. "Company found out I was vocal about supporting equality at work," John said bitterly from the passenger seat. "Called it disrupting the culture." Then the bills piled up. Alex felt a familiar twist in his gut. He didn't press for more, but the words lingered. His own journey as a gay single dad had been marked by similar quiet battles. The promotions that never came, the sideways glances at school events, the family that tolerated but never fully accepted. Arriving at his modest 2-story house decorated with simple white lights, Alex helped everyone inside. While Maria got the kids settled in the guest room with extra blankets, John stood in the kitchen watching Alex heat up soup and make sandwiches. "Why are you doing this?" John asked quietly. "Most people drive right by." Alex paused, stirring the pot. "Because I've been where you are, not on the street, but feeling like the world is against you for who you are. My son deserves a better example than turning away." He didn't mention his sexuality yet. It was too soon, and the weight of the night already felt heavy. As they ate together around the kitchen table, Ethan woke up and joined them, his curiosity turning to excitement at having other kids in the house. For the first time in months, the home felt alive with laughter. But Alex couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more than chance. Maria's grateful eyes and John's guarded posture hinted at stories yet untold. Later that night, after everyone was asleep, Alex sat alone in the living room staring at the Christmas tree. The lights reflected in his eyes as he thought about his ex, the man who had promised forever but left when the pressure of being with a gay father became too much. Helping this family was stirring up everything he had tried to bury. Little did he know, the biggest revelation was yet to come. The next morning dawned bright and cold, sunlight streaming through the kitchen windows as Alex poured coffee for everyone. Maria hummed softly while flipping pancakes, and the kids giggled as Ethan showed Lily his favorite toy truck. John sat at the table, his shoulders a little less tense than the night before, but his eyes kept drifting to Alex with an intensity that made the air feel thicker. "You didn't have to do any of this," John said again, voice low so the children wouldn't hear. "Most folks see a family like ours and cross the street." Alex shrugged, sliding a plate across the counter. "Christmas isn't about most folks. It's about doing what feels right." He watched Ethan chase Tommy around the living room, the sound of their laughter filling the spaces that had felt empty for too long. For a moment, the house didn't feel like a battleground of memories. But then John cleared his throat. "I used to know someone like you. Back in college. He was gay, out and proud, even when it cost him everything with his family. Remind me of you somehow." The words landed like a punch. Alex froze, mug halfway to his lips. College. The name hovered unspoken between them, but John didn't push. Instead, he changed the subject to the job search, mentioning how Maria had been taking night classes before everything fell apart. Alex listened, nodding, but his mind raced back to those college years when he'd fallen hard for a quiet, closeted guy named Jordan who had eventually chosen safety over love. The parallel hit too close. By afternoon, Alex had called a local shelter and arranged a meeting for the next day. That's when Ryan walked into his life. Ryan, the social worker assigned to their case, arrived at the house with paperwork and a warm smile that reached his kind brown eyes. He was about Alex's age, built solid from years of community work, and when he shook Alex's hand, something electric passed between them. "You've already done more than most would," Ryan said after interviewing the family in the living room. "Opening your home on Christmas Eve? That's rare." They talked logistics while the kids played outside in the fresh snow, and Ryan's easy laugh made Alex feel seen in a way he hadn't in years. But as evening fell, doubts crept in. John pulled Alex aside in the hallway. "I appreciate everything, man, but I need to tell you something. The real reason we lost the apartment wasn't just the job. I stood up for my little brother when he came out. Boss found out, and it snowballed. Maria's been amazing, but the stress, it's breaking us." Alex nodded, throat tight, seeing his own fears reflected in John's story. He thought of Ethan growing up with a dad who still flinched at family holidays. That night, as Ryan left with a promise to return, Alex lay awake wondering if helping this family was healing his past or just reopening old scars. The conversations had only begun, and the truth was inching closer. By the third day, the house had settled into a new rhythm that felt almost like family. Lily and Tommy helped Ethan decorate cookies, flour dusting every surface, while Maria shared stories of her childhood Christmases in a small Illinois town. John pitched in with repairs around the house, fixing a leaky faucet and clearing snow from the driveway, his quiet gratitude slowly chipping away at Alex's walls. But the deeper talks happened after the kids went to bed. John opened up more about the discrimination that had cost him everything, how his brother's coming out had rippled through their circle of friends and employers until the family was labeled and pushed out. "I wasn't even the one who was gay," John said one evening, staring into his beer, "but standing by him made me guilty by association." Alex felt the words echo in his chest. He shared pieces of his own story then, the coming out that had severed ties with his parents, the adoption process for Ethan that had been a solo fight, the ex who couldn't handle the visibility of raising a child together. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough for him," Alex admitted. "The world out there still whispers." John listened without judgment, and for the first time, Alex felt understood by someone who had lived the edges of the same fight. Ryan returned the next afternoon with updates on housing options, his presence lighting up the room. He and Alex talked for hours after the family went to rest, sharing coffee on the porch despite the cold. Ryan spoke openly about his own journey as a gay man in social services, the burnout, the small victories. Their hands brushed when reaching for the same mug, and Alex's pulse quickened. "You don't have to carry it all alone," Ryan said softly. The moment lingered, full of possibility, but Alex pulled back, haunted by the fear of another heartbreak. That night, a call from his parents shattered the fragile peace. His mother sounded strained. "We heard you're housing strangers. Think of Ethan. This isn't the example we raised you with." The conversation ended in tears, leaving Alex pacing the living room. John found him there and offered a silent shoulder. The misunderstanding brewed when Maria overheard and assumed Alex's hesitation meant regret about helping them. Tension rose as Alex questioned if his compassion was selfish, if letting them stay was just a way to fill the void in his own life. The internal storm built, but Ryan's text the next morning reminded him that growth often looked like risk. The confrontation came on day 5 when Alex's parents showed up unannounced, their car pulling into the driveway just as the family was sharing lunch. His father's face hardened at the sight of John and Maria at the table. "This is what you've been doing? Taking in people you don't know while ignoring your own blood?" The words cut deep, dredging up years of rejection. Ethan hid behind Alex's leg, and the kids watched wide-eyed as voices rose. John stepped forward calmly, defending Alex's choice, but Maria pulled him back, worried about overstaying their welcome. In the heated exchange, John revealed more. "My brother was like you, Alex. Gay, proud, and it cost us everything when the community turned on us after he passed from complications no one wanted to talk about. We ended up here because prejudice doesn't pick sides." The truth landed hard. Alex realized the parallel to his own life, the way hiding or standing up could destroy families. His parents left in anger, and the house fell silent. Alex retreated to his room, the weight of old betrayals crashing down. Ethan crawled into his lap later. "Dad, are they mad at us because you're gay?" The innocent question broke him. Ryan arrived that evening, sensing the shift through a quick call. They sat on the porch steps as snow fell again, Ryan's arm around Alex's shoulders in quiet support. "You've built something beautiful here. Don't let their voices drown it out." A misunderstanding flared when John saw them together and assumed Alex was replacing his own family's needs with a new romance. Words were exchanged, John accusing Alex of using the situation to feel better about himself. Alex defended his actions, but the hurt lingered, forcing him to face how his past ex's departure had left him guarded. That night, alone, Alex cried for the boy he once was and the man he was becoming, the sacrifice of his own peace now clear in every choice. The climax hit when Alex made the hardest decision yet. With the shelter options delayed by holidays, he withdrew from his savings account and paid 3 months' rent on a small apartment for John, Maria, and the kids. It meant postponing his promotion at work and facing more questions from his boss about priorities. Ryan helped with the paperwork, their connection deepening into something undeniable. In the quiet of the empty guest room after the family packed, Ryan turned to Alex. "You're incredible for this. Not many would give so much." Their first real embrace happened then, tentative and full of promise, lips brushing in a soft kiss that felt like coming home. But the misunderstanding peaked when Alex's ex called out of the blue, hearing through mutual friends about the strangers and warning him against repeating past mistakes. "You always give too much, Alex. Remember how it ended with us." The words reignited old doubts, and when John overheard part of the call, he confronted Alex again, fearing he was being pushed out too soon. Tempers flared until Maria stepped in, revealing the full depth of their loss tied to standing against prejudice. Alex broke down, the emotional toll of the week crashing over him. "I thought helping you would fix something in me," he admitted, voice raw. Ryan stayed through the night, listening as Alex poured out years of isolation. The sacrifice had cost him financially and emotionally, but it also opened doors. By morning, John apologized, the family packed and ready to move. Ethan hugged Lily and Tommy goodbye, promising playdates. As they drove off, Alex stood with Ryan on the porch, the weight lifting just enough to breathe. The truth had shattered him, but in its pieces lay the start of something stronger. The weeks after Christmas blurred into a new normal. John and Maria settled into the apartment, John landing a job through Ryan's network, and the kids started school with Ethan. Weekly dinners brought everyone together, laughter replacing the earlier tension. Alex's parents sent a cautious card, a small crack in the wall, but Alex focused on the family he chose. His bond with Ryan grew steadily, weekend walks turning into shared holidays and quiet evenings where they talked about the future without fear. Ethan thrived, asking questions about love that Alex answered honestly, modeling the acceptance he had fought for. One snowy evening in January, as the group gathered for a belated celebration, Alex watched Ryan help Ethan with a puzzle, their easy camaraderie filling the room with warmth. John pulled him aside. "You saved us that night. More than a roof. You showed us it's okay to stand tall." The words healed something deep. Alex realized the encounter hadn't just been about charity. It had been about reclaiming his own story, forgiving the past, and building a life where love didn't have to hide. As the night ended with hugs and promises, Alex stood on the porch with Ryan, arms around each other under the lights. Ethan waved from inside, content and loved. In the end, Alex realized helping that family on Christmas Eve hadn't just saved them. It had saved him too. But was it true that true acceptance can only come from within, or does society play the bigger role? What do you believe?